All right, time to get back to work and back at home at Beaver Stadium with Wisconsin.
Did you guys have a nice Halloween? It was kind of a haunted big house
Yeah.
for the Nittany Lions, wasn't it?
Not a fun trip, and the fact that Bucky is on his way into town and it's going to be cold and flurries and windy, we're going to have to talk about that. Blue White Tailgate is next.
And welcome to November football at home.
That's exactly right. Get out your orange hunting gear. It's going to be an orange out.
Oh, no, you're not bringing the pants back,
No,
are you? I just want to make sure. All right, so let's get to it. We got a lot to talk about at the offense, the defense. We'll talk to Sue Paterno later in the show. Jay's going to take us into the film room as well, take a look and break down certain aspects of this game. All right, these things happen. This hasn't happened in 2.5 years, because they haven't had a loss of more than 4 points in 2.5 years. Now I got to figure out a way, Todd, to go boom and move forward.
It hasn't happened since the last time they were in Ann Arbor, and this one was a little bit different. I mean, the defense was hanging on as long as they possibly could. The offense just never showed up, and of course we'll talk about Trace McSorley and Tommy Stevens a little bit more in detail later, but they just could not get it in gear, and the defense just couldn't get off the field. They were on the field a long time.
38 minutes in that game for Michigan time of possession. But for James Franklin, you have to take it. You got to move forward.
But we got a great locker room, and our guys will handle this the right way. We got an opportunity coming up this week, and we got to make sure that there's no hangover effect from this. Sunday is going to be really important for us. Our day off Monday is going to be really important for us. And then obviously the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, will be really important. So, we got to give Michigan credit. We got to look ourselves in the mirror. We got to make some adjustments, and we got to make some corrections, and then give ourselves the best opportunity to be successful next week.
How important is it, Jay, as a staff that, okay, you take care of what you need to take care of, but not overreact?
Well, I mean, look, you got to stick to the things that have been successful for you, and you played a really, really good football team on Saturday, a very veteran football team. It's very mature, and some things didn't go your way. That if they go your way, you're in the game, you're competitive. But you got to look at it and say, look, that's an aberration. That's not who we are. That's not what we've been, and we got to look forward to Wisconsin this week.
I think when you look at the big picture of the team, I think when you go into the season, you're looking at this team as potentially 10-2. A lot of people talk, hey, can you get through this schedule 10-2? They're one play. Michigan State potentially really poor performance offensively in that game from being somewhat on schedule from an overall standpoint. The thing that stands out is the way you lost this game in Michigan. And Steve, you pointed out, like, the margin of error against the team like Michigan this year's squad is really, really small. And they just did not come up with any of the plays that they had to have to stay in that game.
All right, so let's go to the update desk. Josh Sperber is standing by at the update desk.
Here is your pregame update, sponsored by PSECU. A couple of injury concerns heading into this contest, starting with Wisconsin. Junior quarterback Alex Hornibrook is listed as questionable after suffering a hard hit at the end of the first half against Rutgers. Across the field, not a lot being said about Trace McSorley's knee injury, but he is expected to play. As for Juwan Johnson, who missed the game against Michigan, his status is still up in the air with a lower body injury that he suffered back against Indiana. And these injuries don't just extend to current Nittany Lions. Alum Sean Lee re-aggravated a hamstring injury on Monday night, and he's expected to miss a significant amount of time. Once you get here to Beaver Stadium, make sure to check out gopsusports.com for the list of parking restrictions, as record rainfall has forced the closure of some of the grass lots in the area. In the stadium, you'll see honorary captain Devin Still and his daughter Leah. Still an All-American here at Penn State, but ended his 5-year NFL career a little early to focus on his daughter's cancer fight.
Josh, thanks so much. Appreciate that. And as he mentioned, Devin and Leah will be the honorary captains for the game on Saturday. It's also Thon Day, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The series between Penn State and Wisconsin, when there was leaders and legends, by the way, they had set it up as the last game of the season. Not bad, huh?
Leaders and legends. Boy, we miss those days, don't we?
Not particularly.
No, I couldn't figure out how to tell which team was in which division.
In its brief history as the leaders and legends, they got rid of that pretty quickly.
Yeah. No question. Okay, so Garrett Taylor says, look, they've got enough character to bounce back from what we just saw.
I think it's a great opportunity to show how resilient we are as a team. I know right now we're going what some might call through a little bit of adversity. But, you know, I think this team has a lot of fight in us. We have a lot of strong-willed guys. And, you know, we're not going to give up. You know, we're going to go out every week, prepare how we need to prepare, and we're going to work hard. And, you know, we're going to come out and put together a full 4 quarters each and every Saturday from here on out.
I always love the, what do they have to play for? I'm sorry, we have nothing to play for, I quit. I mean, who comes up with this stuff?
Well, are you a competitor or not? And you're going to find out Saturday whether you are, because you're going to get punched in the mouth early in this game, and how they respond is going to tell a lot about what kind of team you got.
Oh, no question about that. All right, coming up, we will take a look at the Penn State offense and discuss where to from here with that group as we continue with Blue White Tailgate after this. All right, so Saturday, of course, Penn State lost at Michigan. The numbers offensively tell you a couple things. Penn State had obviously trouble against this Michigan defense, and it tells you also how good that Michigan defense is. I think a big number there is that 68 yards rushing. I mean, Penn State couldn't get anything going on the ground in this game, and they didn't have a lot of plays to do it either.
No, I mean, and the third downs were a problem for them because you couldn't, you know, you're in 3rd and long, and when you're running the ball on 1st down, and now you're 2nd and 10, now you're off schedule. And that's when Michigan, we talked about that in the film room last week, when Michigan gets you off schedule, it's like they feed off that.
And a lot of those rushing yards came from Tommy Stevens
yes.
in the second half. Now, Trace McSorley at 100% is going to pick up some of those rushing yards. And he's a big part of the rushing game this year. And it, you know, rendered him obsolete basically out there when he can't go 100% with the rushing game. And you saw it in the very first time Tommy Stevens came in and touched the ball, and he busted one off for 15, 16 yards. What a fresh quarterback can do to give Michigan something else to think about. But with Trace McSorley, without being a threat to run the ball, is just not the same.
And James Franklin really says, look, all the players that are out there need to be the ones to step up and make plays, not just 1 or 2 guys.
I think that's something that's really, really important, is those guys are understanding that, you know, they were brought here to make the plays. They're capable of making the plays, and they need to go do them. But I think right now we're kind of waiting for someone else to make the play, and then when that happens, everybody gets excited and rallies behind them. Where I think our approach needs to be, you know, you're going to make the play, and when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to take advantage of it. And that's something, you know, look. I mean, your father was one that he'd walk up and down the sideline in a game and go, okay, who's going to make the play? Who's going to make the play? He'd challenge somebody. All of them step up and do it. So now the Blaze Alexander Family Dealership's Offensive Player of the Game. Todd mentioned him, and that, of course, would be Tommy Stevens. And, you know, see here, again, the ability to move. He ended up gaining 50 yards rushing in this game. Here's the catch by Dotson. It was a nice play.
Yeah, great throw.
Yeah, and great throw, terrific catch, and here's the touchdown he scored. Yeah, he was able to get in there and just make some plays when he had the chance, although he had the one bad pick in the game.
And it was strange because, you know, do you put Tommy Stevens in? Do you leave Trace in? That type of deal. I mean, I think the idea was to get the spark going. You could see when Trace went down and he kind of stayed on the ground for a few extra seconds long. You could see the knee was really, really an issue in the brace. And so put Tommy Stevens in for spark. Great run on his first play.
Yeah.
Second play is a pick 6. And it just really took all the air out, really probably of the plan on what to do anyway. If Tommy has a successful drive, you're probably going to keep him in there and see more and more of him with a fresh quarterback. But look, he's showing a lot of promise. He shook that off to have a good drive later in the game and to get him in the end zone. And look, I think they're going to be in pretty good hands if Trace isn't around, you know, with Tommy Stevens a quarterback, showing a lot of promise.
Jay, when you've seen Tommy Stevens play quarterback, just as the quarterback, what have you thought of him?
Well, I think he's got a strong arm. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the question will be when you've got to do it play in, play out every game, then that changes. You know, that's when you're really going to evaluate him. You know, when you come in and you're down 21, 28, nothing, whatever it is against Michigan, you can take some chances and do some things because you're playing with house money, so to speak. So we'll see. But I think the tools are there. I think there's no question about that. So.
All right, our crack staff has once again put together the tail of the tape graphic that tells so much. All right, so you can see they've done a good job against the rush. They're not bad, even though the secondary's been banged up, and we'll get to that later, but the secondary's been a little bit banged up. That's still a very good number defensively against the pass.
And when you look at them as a passing efficiency number, it's very, very good
Yes.
too as well. So they're making plays, and they're in position to make plays in the pass game.
The number we didn't see on there is the third down number
Yeah.
for Penn State, and that's really where there's a big issue.
Yeah.
I mean, they're, 110th in FBS.
34% right now.
Right, and it's not just 3rd and 3s or 3rd and 4s, it's 3rd and
8.
Yeah, 3rd and 8. And so when you're facing 3rd and 8s all the time, and I said this before, like Trace's passing completion percentage is 52%. And if you throw him first down, that's half the time it's going to be 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
And so right away, you're behind schedule right from the get-go.
And I think you talk about the third down. It was not an issue earlier in the season. And you look at the last 5 games, there's 17 of 71 in the last 5 games on third downs, and that's a number. If you're going to have any chance Saturday, that's got to be much better.
Well, what about the possibility of getting Miles Sanders more touches? James Franklin said it would be a domino that would help the offense.
Miles has shown that he can be a big play back in this conference, and that he can carry the load and get you the tough yards as well as the big plays. So it's going to be very important that we find a way to establish the run game again, so there's not so much on the shoulders of Trace McSorley.
And then that brings us back to, Todd, getting on schedule. If you're running the ball well on first down, you could throw it too. It does, but I'm saying, but if you can get good gains on first down, it changes the dynamics of 2nd and 3rd.
Well, on the rare occasions that they did move the ball, the one drive that they had towards the end of the first half where Trace missed DeAndre Tompkins on a wide open play, they got Miles Sanders the ball out of the backfield and threw it to him right away. He made a move, was able to get a first down, or at least close to a first down. Those are the types of situations. It's not just the players. I want to see if Ricky Ronnie can get himself also into a groove and figure out what to do in the second half and the adjustments that you make with Trace. If you have both Tommy and Trace in the lineup to do a wildcat formation or do something different, throw some different wrinkles in there if you need that spark a little bit early. We'll see how they manage that.
All right, we'll talk about the defense as we continue after this. All right, this is going to be an interesting segment about the defense because 42 points, okay, looks bad. The 38 minutes looks bad. The 400 yards looks bad, except if I obviously watched every play of the game. 21 points off of takeaways. Those takeaways led to drives totaling 60 yards. That's half the points right there. I mean, it's not quite, I think the defense did a decent job of hanging in a good chunk of this day.
No question. I mean, if you're looking at it as a coach and you evaluate this film, you look at it and say, despite what everybody thinks, the perception is that Michigan went up and down the field on a regular basis. That's not the case. There were a lot of stops. They hung in there for a long time and kept Michigan from really, really rolling this thing up. And when they evaluate, I think there'll be more. There was more there to be positive about.
And when it's 14-0 into the middle of the third quarter, Penn State's defense started the second half by getting back-to-back 3-and-outs to open the door to help the offense.
This isn't a Pollyanna discussion.
No,
it's not a silver lining.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's really not. They actually did. I mean, the offense gave them zero help in this game leading up to the third quarter. And yes, they let go of the rope eventually and just, okay, they scored the amount of points that they scored, but the pick six took the air out of everybody. Then another McSorley interception gave them a 10-yard drive, whatever it was. But the defense is growing each week. I mean, you're not seeing it on the offensive side of the ball. You want to see your team get better and better. The defense is getting better. And I checked the roster. There are hardly any seniors anywhere on the roster, maybe 3 on each side of the ball that contribute. There's been the real progress on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, so let's get to the drive of the game. And on the drive of the game, Blake Gilligan unleashed the longest punt of his career, 74 yards, and then a penalty at Michigan start at the 10. So this is a promising start to the drive for Penn State defensively. But then here's the key play of the drive here. That's a 3rd and 6, and he gets 11 yards out to the 25 using his legs, and that was a springboard to get them rolling here. Karan Higdon, who had a 7th straight 100-yard rushing game, got it done there. Now he just slips out. Linebackers get caught in the wash, and Chris Evans gets out there, and then they cap it off with this touchdown pass in the end zone to Zach Gentry. That was a 90-yard drive.
So on the flip side, anti-silver lining part of it, yeah, they had some issues.
Yeah, they were 3 of 3 on third down in that drive.
They definitely had some issues, and they're having trouble setting the edge against running quarterbacks too. I mean, there's got to be, you got to hold your responsibility. You can't just go diving in after the running back. You got to set the edge and make sure you're playing the quarterback. That happened on Patterson's touchdown run. It happened on that big play that you pointed out, Steve, too. So yes, I mean, look, there's a lot more room for growth. But you know what? They made them work for everything, right? 3-4 yards. There's only a few chunk plays. That was an impressive drive by the Wolverines.
Yeah, it was.
And that's what Michigan's comfortable doing.
Right.
And as you look ahead, this week you're playing an offense that's very comfortable doing that as well. So similar challenge, better tailback, better offensive line, but not a running quarterback.
Right.
So that helps.
That's a big part of it, too, is the running quarterback part. All right. Our Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships Defensive Player of the Game, we went with Jan Johnson. And Jan put together a solid performance with 12 tackles in the game, and and Jan just gets a little bit better every single week. Works hard all the time. Now the tail of the tape. Here's the Wisconsin offense against the Penn State defense on the tail of the tape. Wisconsin's at 273 yards rush. Wow, they run the ball.
That's not new. That is not new.
All right, so now that sets up the run defense. So Josh, give us a rundown. What do they have to do with this rush defense against this rush offense?
In the loss against Michigan, Penn State let up 259 yards on the ground. Now they face the 4th best rush offense in the FBS, led by Jonathan Taylor.
We've gone against some guys that you know are going to get you the tough yards, 6 or 4 yards or 8 yards. We've gone against some guys that can take it the distance, but it's hard to find a guy that can do all those things. And, he has the ability to do all those things, and then it's magnified because of the type of offense he plays in and because of the type of line that he plays behind.
Taylor leads the Big Ten in carries, rush yards, and rushing touchdowns so far this season, and will pose a big challenge for the Penn State front seven.
You got to look at guys like Sharif, Yetur, Kevin, our front seven playing really well right now. So I think it's going to start up front, and I think our guys are going to do a great job of, giving Wisconsin hard looks and, getting knocked back off the ball. And I think we're going to, come out with the right intentions on defense.
With 3 linebackers in Penn State's top 5 in tackles and 6 defensive linemen in their top 10 in tackles for loss, Penn State's front seven will be absolutely crucial to stopping Wisconsin's high-powered rushing attack.
Good job, Josh. And something that's important is that it's not just Taylor. They've got 3 tailbacks. So Deal and Groshak are really good, too.
Yeah, when you look at them, they're all averaging 6'4", 6'5", and 6'6" yards per carry. So it's not a big drop-off when Deal comes in, and they're all 215, 220. This is going to be pull up your pants and find out what kind of football team you got.
Yeah, definitely so. They'll probably be selling out to stop the run a little bit. They're going to have to put the pressure on whoever's going to be the quarterback. We'll talk a little bit more about Wisconsin's issues at QB, whether it's going to be Hornibrook or Jack Cohn. But which leaves a little bit more pressure on the secondary to cover some guys. But I think if they play some guys up and try and stop that run, that's what they're going to have to do to get Wisconsin off the field. It's certainly going to help if the offense can stay on the field a little bit too. Right. The time of possession was crazy, 122nd, I think, in the country for Penn State. So they really need to help that way as well to get the defense off the field.
Yeah, we'll get to the keys a little bit later, but I think this is one of those, they get a 2-score lead, boy, they control the game. Penn State gets a 2-score lead. I think that we'll talk about that later. All right, coming up, we'll talk with Sue Paterno as we continue after this. Well, we welcome everyone back, and this is Shop Talk presented by Ace Hardware of State College, and here we are, joined on the set. Jay Paterno's here, Sue Paterno's here. Why? Because we're going to talk about the cruise of a lifetime. It's the Happy Valley Charter Cruise. Now, Sue says I have to go to Jay first on this because this is really, how did the idea come about to do this?
Well, I hate to give Ohio State credit for anything, but Ohio State's been doing a Buckeye Cruise for 10, 12 years, and they raise a lot of money for their cancer center. Right. So having seen the videos and having seen how much fun these Ohio State people have on this cruise, and the whole boat is Ohio State people, some people, Ted Brown, one of our trustees, said, hey, we ought to do something like that at Penn State with Penn Staters and former players like Ohio State does. So you have to give them credit, but we're going to surpass them. We may not surpass them year one, but we're going to surpass them. So the idea is really to have a bunch of Penn State people for a cause, and the cause we identified was Special Olympics Pennsylvania.
So obviously you've done so much with Special Olympics over the years. How important has it been to come up with different ideas to make sure that you're raising the funds, because obviously you're not going to get federal or state funds to take care of it?
Well, the most important thing is for us to raise the money for the athletes because they do not pay for anything. So we have to find new and better ways all the time. We have a lot of polar plunges, and we have the Beaver Stadium run, but that's not going to cover it enough. And Jake Corman helped us get some money from the state, which has been a godsend. Now, unless we have someone walk in with, $10 million, we're going to have to keep working hard to raise money. So we are doing to the cruise, and it is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun way to raise money. 4 of us did a pre-cruise. Ted Brown, the trustee, our development director from Special Olympics, and the travel agent and I. The food was outstanding. The boat was unreal. I kept thinking I was in a, world-class hotel because the boat wasn't going ooh, ooh. Right. It was just really lots of fun. And the people on the boat were great, and everybody sort of mingled. Now, we have all Penn Staters on that boat. That makes it a wonderful experience.
Oh, there's no question about that. And the other part that we talk about the innovative ways of doing it, but once the, quote, competition starts, you just were at Villanova. What's the spark that you see in the athletes, but also what's the spark you see in the families around the athletes?
It's a labor of love on the coach's part, and it's just well, I'll put it this way. I was driving to Villanova. I stopped at the last rest stop on the turnpike. Adams County was there, Franklin was there. Hi, what are we doing tonight? And I said, when we were all leaving, I said, I'll see you tonight. They all know each other, and there is a bond through the whole Special Olympics community and with the people who work with them. And it's a magical time for everybody. I can't explain the high. They're the most caring people in the world, because you have been at our closing ceremonies, so you know how wonderful they are and what a good time they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a good time.
Oh, and we do have a good time, always. Just to everyone see the information quickly, and then we'll revisit this in terms of how to get involved with this. It's Sail to the Bahamas on Royal Caribbean, 800-242-8076, or visit www.happyvalleycruise.com. Jay, how about the process of getting a hold of the former football players and the response that you were able to get from that?
Well, some of them started to get wind of it, and they called and said, hey, you didn't call me yet. I said, okay, we'll go. But you got Franco Harris, who is not a fan of boats and going seaborne. He's going to overcome his seasickness potentially. He's going to do it. Michael Robinson, Jeff Hardings, Marco Rivera. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Blair Thomas, Brandon Short. I mean, there's some just great people that are going to be on this thing. And you know what's great about it is if you're a fan of Penn State football, you're going to get to go on and spend time with these guys. You're going to get to talk about some of those games you remember. But they've all wanted to be part of this, and they all understand that football has always been special at Penn State because it's been a means to an end, and that end is to do far more than just win games. And these guys, all of them are examples of that idea that was such a part of this place and still is.
And by the way,
Russ
Rose.
Rose.
I forgot Russ Rose.
How could you forget Russ?
Okay, forget it. Russ Rose will be the most fun guy on the cruise. He'll be the one with the scotch and the cigars. So if anybody needs a cigar, there's your guy.
Here's a chance from March 4th to the 8th to spend time with Russ Rose.
Exactly.
And we're going to have a Dancing with the Stars competition. Yeah, we haven't picked any dancers, but I picked the 3 judges because I thought I'd take 3 people without filters.
Okay.
And one is Russ Rose,
okay.
One is Dana Harris, and one is Scott Paterno.
Oh,
they will all
so
be there.
3 for 3 on that one. Wow.
So we're going to,
We got to get Scott on set to talk about that.
It's only an hour show, Joe.
I know.
That's why I want those 3. They will not be lost for words. I mean, Dana might say, well, your lipstick was on crooked, so we took off points for that, whatever.
Have you been heartened by the response so far?
I have. Well, the first thing I think about the whole thing, having been on the boat for 3 days, this is a 4-day cruise,
right,
was what a blast, what a beautiful ship, what great food, and the people were also wonderful, and we had a super time. So I thought, now make all these people Penn Staters for a cause that's so dear to my heart. I am ecstatic.
How heartened about the fact that it's so many different eras that decided to say they wanted to be a part of the cruise, of players that were here. I mean, so many different eras.
Yeah. Well, they're smart. Penn State players are always smart, so
Yes.
they're picked the right times.
Yeah. That's what gets me. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. All these different eras said, yeah, we'll go. We want to be there. I think that's really great that when something like that happens.
And we wanted the blue band to come, but Rich Bundy, well, Dick Bundy, she had knee surgery, but he said, put me on the list for next year.
Oh, that's
so
great.
we've invited blue band members to come back, bring their own instruments, and they'll play.
Yeah.
And the ship has, on the, I don't know the names of the decks and all that, but there's 3 large pools. And then there are big screens everywhere. So we're going to show films from the different eras.
Oh, great.
The 84, help me, 94,
94,
86, 82, whatever.
And probably as important as that is we're going to be showing Penn State basketball's run in the Big Ten tournament to the NCAA tournament.
Yes, somebody will be in Chicago for that during this cruise.
Otherwise, we would have had you come.
Absolutely, I would love to. One more time, let's just take a quick look how you can get more information about this. Benefits Special Olympics Pennsylvania, sail the Bahamas on Royal Caribbean. Call 1-800-242-8076 or visit www.happyvalleycruise.com. Sue, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Anything you can do for Special Olympics.
Anytime.
It's magic.
Anytime. I'm still stuck with you for the rest of the show.
Okay, I'm good.
We'll come back with more after this.
We are back with the film room here on the Blue White Tailgate. It is brought to you by Beer Belly's Beverage. You know what goes well with Beer Belly's Beverages is some cheese, Wisconsin cheese. And the guys on the offense for the Badgers consume a lot of everything. My guess is they consume a lot of cheese, too.
I would imagine it. If the dairy,
big boys.
No question. Now, let's take a look at that. Since you brought that up, let's talk about the weighty issues that Penn State's going to face. There are 5 offensive linemen, 1,572 pounds, and you can do the math there.
Wow.
But in their 3 tight end sets, you're looking at over a ton of humanity blocking for that running back, and a very experienced group with 194 combined starts for those starting 5. So Penn State's going to have their hands full up front. Now, let's talk about the Wisconsin offense because they are more complex than you think, but it still comes down to man-on-man where it's going to be some very, very difficult things. So take a look at this play. This is an ISO play. It's a little bit of a draw, but they're going to double team that nose, get to that linebacker, and now your linebacker is going to be taken on a fullback in the hole, one-on-one. Can you handle it? And not only that, he'll cut you on occasion. So take a look at this on film. That fullback comes up, cuts the linebackers, getting ready to take him on, and now the back goes for another, 14, 15 yards. Very, very good. And that's Deal, the backup running back, who's very good too as well. A couple other things they do. They're very complex with their blocking schemes up front, and you can do that with a veteran group. Here's a trap play where they're going to actually pull the guard on the backside. This guy thinks all of a sudden I'm unblocked, and now a tight end is going to come and trap him, and the tailback, Taylor, is going to cut all the way back outside. Great end zone shot of this. Take a look at the film on this. Look, there's that defensive lineman thinks, hey, look, I got a free run to the back. Now I'm getting blocked. Now there's Taylor in the secondary, and Taylor can make things happen, no question about it. Now, while you're spending all this time worrying about the running game, they will throw the ball on you. 3rd downs, they bring in Ferguson, who's one of their best receiving tight end. And as we mentioned earlier, the grandson of Barry Alvarez, really good player. But they're going to bring him in, and they work the middle of the field against your linebacker. So take a look at here how they do this. Again, this is a 2nd and 7. They get into a spread set. You got your linebacker stepping up. He's one-on-one, and he's capable of beating safeties and linebackers one-on-one, and that's going to give Penn State some problems with their linebackers if they're not careful. How well they do that with their backup quarterback if he starts, we'll see. Now, once you get into all this run stuff, all this stuff's happening in front of you. We got to take away the run. We got to bring safeties down. Now they're going to play action fake it. And here you watch this. They're going to block this play exactly like the run play. So every key your guy he's getting, it says run, run, run. He's getting ready to take on a fullback who's going to kick him out physically. Then the fullback slips him and goes down the sideline. Take a look at this one. Again, up front, everything looks like a run. That guy comes up, oh, whoops, he slipped me. There's the throw over the top. And again, whether that's Hornibrook or whether it's a backup, that's a throw that he can make and be consistent with. And here's a great shot of it. Look at those linebackers up in the line of scrimmage, getting ready to come on and take that play. Now, last thing that I think we'll see on Saturday is because Penn State is good with the pass rush and they may have a backup quarterback playing, I think you're going to see some quick sprint outs. These are things they do. Now, if it's Hornibrook, the left-hander, is probably more often going to happen to the left as opposed to the right. But just look how quickly this fullback comes and cuts the end, and he's outside and the ball's out. Take a look at this on the video. Cuts that defensive end, ball's out. Throw, I can still make in my advanced age and lack of talent. And there's a 7 to 10-yard play.
So we've seen some of this before with Iowa. We've seen a little bit with Michigan. This is the type of team they are. They want to bash you. All right, defensively, how are they going to line up against
They want to bash you too, and they want to stop the run. And let's take a look at how they do that. And again, they start with a 2-safety high front. If you look at them on the screen here, they're going to play 2-safety high, but they will rotate the 1, and they'll get him down involved. They'll probably challenge Penn State's wideouts out there in the 3 wideout set. But take a look at how downhill these linebackers come. Take a look at this on video. Up front, they're going to be aggressive. That safety comes up. Those linebackers are going to try and make plays in the backfield against you. Now, here's a great illustration of what they like to do up front. These 2 guys are going to occupy your double teams. In all these zone schemes, a lot of double teams. And once they occupy those guys, these linebackers have free run to go make plays. Now, they're going to be missing 99. They're big nose tackle, but this is still what they want to do. Take a look at how quickly these guys show up in the backfield. The minute they see a gap, they're in there trying to make a play. So Penn State's got to be able to handle that. Now, the other thing is when you get into the red zone and some of the pass downs, they get into what we call a double eagle defense, bear defense, where there are 5 down guys. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what that does to a team like Penn State is it creates 5 one-on-one matchups with your pass protection. Now, they'll drop a guy out. You don't know who's going to drop out, but they're going to move, they're going to twist, they're going to do things back here. This also puts pressure on your running back to know which of these 2 guys. He's responsible for both of these guys. So take a look what they do here in the red zone. Again, they drop the front side guy. Now they're putting pressure on. Again, they're not a great pass rush team, but they're going to try and create one-on-one matchups, and then they're going to rally the ball and make you punt it. Now, where will Penn State have some ability to make some things happen? If Trace is healthy or if Tommy Stevens in the game, they will get into some things where they take Van Winkle in here and they bring him in. They're going to plug him inside to get more pass rush inside. They're going to use defensive tackles to come outside, but sometimes they lose contained. And take a look at how this happens here for Iowa. And I got respect for Nate Stanley, but he's not as mobile as Penn State's guys, but he gets outside and makes a play. Great analysis, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention you went back into the closet for a vintage sweater. 1996, still fits and still working. The Sue Paterno closet. Analysis, great outerwear as well. That's the film room. We'll be right back on the Blue White Tailgate.
Welcome everyone back. Great to have you with us on the show. Okay, let's get into Wisconsin. Paul Chryst. You know what? Paul Chryst is one of those guys who loves to coach football, does a great job coaching football, may not be the flashiest guy around, but gets results.
You know, he is a absolute perfect hire for Wisconsin.
Yep.
You look at Barry Alvarez, the last season was 2005. They have averaged over 10 wins a year since that time. This is one of those programs that not a lot of people outside the Big Ten really pay attention to, but Chris is a heck of a football coach.
And if you didn't say his name, you just said his statistics. Oh, he's 40-10 at the school. He's the reigning back-to-back Big Ten Coach of the Year. You'd go, oh, well, who's that? Is that or Jim Harbaugh, or Urban Meyer, James Franklin? No, it's Paul Chryst. Yeah. They're having a rough year, though. I mean, much like Penn State, by their standards, in the sense that, I think a lot of people talked about the West. Oh, it's Wisconsin and who else? But like the Badgers are, not looking good for getting there. I mean, they're 6-3, just like Penn State, going through some injury issues and that type of deal. So they're going to come here trying to get win number 7. They're kind of a little bit desperate right now to get this win.
And they have a formula as to how they go about their business. We talk about this in basketball all the time. We don't talk about this very much in football. But in basketball, there'll be like 2-3 minutes to go, and Dick Girardi and I will talk about, okay, how many possessions are left in the game? And we talk about points per possession all the time. Wisconsin wants to limit the possessions in this game, which puts pressure on your offense. And if it doesn't go well for them, it then puts pressure on their offense.
No question. And that's been them all along. I mean, the first time we played them in the Big Ten in 1995, we had an explosive offensive football team. They came in and they just kept 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 1, first time. I think they were 11-13 that night on 3rd downs, and we lost the team we should have lost to.
Big physical team, 3rd week in a row that they've seen this similar style after Iowa and Michigan and Wisconsin. Grind it out. try and get the first down in 3 plays, whatever it may be. So they're dealing with it again.
The cold tubs will be full on Sunday.
And Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line have been a great marriage. I mean, he is leading the nation in rushing. He is just a terrific running back. He does everything well. Now, the question is, who's the quarterback? Alex Honebrook, unfortunately, has had to go through concussion protocol for the 2nd time in 3 weeks from Malvern. His sister was a swimmer here at one point, okay? So, I mean, you know it means something for him to come here. But then there's Jack Cohn. So, depending on the quarterback, how does James Franklin need to play it?
I think it's going to start with the run game. It's going to go with the run game, through the 2nd and 3rd quarter, and it's going to be the run game in the 4th quarter. It starts and ends with the run game for them, and then obviously they're going to complement it with play action pass. So we got to be prepared for those things. But I don't really see the style of the game changing based on the quarterback that they have in there.
Idealistically, they'd like to see him stay under 4 games. Cone. Yeah.
Did he mention the run game?
Yeah, I think he mentioned the run game.
Just making sure.
But
I wasn't sure I got that.
That's something to keep an eye on.
But they can throw it, and A.J. Taylor's good on the outside. Jake Ferguson comes off the bench as a tight end, leads them in receiving.
Well, Jake Ferguson, by the way, Barry Alvarez's grandson.
Yeah.
And but I think the thing about them is Cone may give them a little stronger arm if it is windy on Saturday.
Right.
Hornibrook doesn't have that great arm, but again, they catch you napping, and all of a sudden now you get a big play.
I'd be surprised to see Hornibrook from the standpoint of this is his 2nd concussion. Why would you put a young man out there in that type of situation? And I mean, look, unless he's cleared concussion protocol completely and he's good to go, I'm not sure why you would take that chance. The Cone had 20 completions for 158 yards. He came in and basically handed off in the Rutgers game in that drive, that he replaced him. So if he is going to throw, he's probably not going to throw deep very often. It's going to be off the play action, but he's capable and he's accurate, and they can move the ball, move the chains.
Obviously, they really like him though, because they'd like to keep him under 4 games, 4 or under if they could, because of how much they do like him and as the future. All right, now let's get to the defense. Odd man front. 3-4, couple of terrific linebackers in the middle, and Conley and Edwards. James Franklin knows moving against them not easy.
Big, physical, strong. What you would think of a Wisconsin defense. I would say they base out of odd personnel, 3-down personnel, but depending on what personnel group and formations you're in, you can get even spacing. So they'll play more of a 4-down front with 3-down personnel. They're going to base in some type of 2-high coverage, either quarter, half, or quarters.
And Jimmy Leonard's the defensive coordinator. Great story. Walk-on, All-American.
Returning the punt against us.
The punt returner, played for the Jets. Now he's the defensive coordinator. Jay, you can't shake this dude.
No. Look, I don't do anything with him on Saturday. That's not my problem. Glad to say. But, look, I think the linebacking core is big for them. There's, these guys have played in 87 starts between the 4 of them. They're 4 guys. Aggressive. The one guy on the outside's got the long hair outside his helmet, so hopefully no flashbacks to last week with Winovich. No Winovich flashbacks.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Connolly and Edwards, they share the tackles, 65 for one, 62 for the other. You're just as likely to find both of them on you at the end of the play as well. So it's going to be a big challenge.
Conley returned the fumble for a touchdown Big Ten championship game. Edwards has 9 career interceptions, and Dakota Dixon on the back line as a safety, very underrated, really good player. All right, coming up, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Todd gets ugly? It is amazing what sports can mean, in terms of winning a game or the feeling it gives a fan base, but also what they can do in the community. And Thon, of course, here at Penn State, which has been backed up by athletes over the years and so many people that have done so much. It's amazing the attention you can draw to it. So this is going to be the Thon game with a Thon sticker on the back of the helmet. Charlie Schumann, who's danced twice at Thon, proud of this moment.
The executive director of Thon a couple years ago came to me with that idea, and it's been a 3-year process to finally get it approved, and to have that come out my 5th year, my last year here, is really exciting.
I mean, he's danced twice at Thon. He might do a 3rd one.
He might need a team psychologist. Somebody's got to examine his brains doing that 3 times. But no, hats off to him because it really is. Thon is by far the best thing Penn State students do on this campus. I love football. I love all the other things, but it is by far the best thing.
And anytime you can educate other people with the sticker to say, well, what is Thon? Well, go find out. And they're always amazed when they hear what goes into it.
Raising 8 figures a year, right? Around 46 hours of dancing. Amazing. All right, time now for the good, the bad. Can't believe Todd got the ugly this week. Wow. Jay, you get the good.
Okay, this is a lesson for all young football players, and this is the good. Michigan State, Maryland last week. Michigan State up 17-3, 11 minutes to go in the game, sprint out, ball gets batted. Maryland defensive tackles got the ball, head into the end zone. A wideout from Michigan State comes down, strips the ball, goes in the end zone. A tight end from Michigan State, Dotson, hustling, recovers it. Touchback, Michigan State ball. Next play, 80-yard touchdown run, 24-3, game over. Great hustle. Never underestimate what you can do.
Never. I get the bad. The bad is in this, everybody has to get to the college football playoff. And look, it's important. It's a benchmark, no question. Then when you got 2 6-3 teams, everybody's like, like, I'm a big believer in competition, right? I'm a big believer in the game and the entertainment of the game as well. And this, we have nothing to play for. Okay, then I quit. I know you haven't quit, Todd.
No, and let's go to the bastion of integrity. That is Louisville University for the ugly. Who knew Rick Pitino's defense team is better than Bobby Petrino's defense team? 77 points to Clemson on the road after giving up 56 at home to Wake Forest. They're going to give this guy a Kawasaki, and he's going to get on a motorcycle again, and they're going to ride him right out of town. That team is awful.
Ouch. Todd off the top rope today. Wow.
Todd, boy.
Yeah.
When we give him the ugly, he goes. I mean, he gets right down the mud.
I was ready for that one. I was ready for that one.
I love
Absolutely.
it. All right, so Josh, you get Northwestern and Iowa. It's going to be a heck of a game.
Northwestern almost came back and beat Notre Dame last week. They've had big wins this season against teams like Michigan State. They're undefeated on the road, and Iowa's lost their last 2 games by a combined 8 points. I just think that the Wildcats have more momentum and more positive energy, and I think they're going to keep that road record at undefeated and beat Iowa.
All right, Josh. I always love when Josh is on. He's breaking it down, and the three of us are going, okay, what game do we have? We do that all the time. All right, so I get Texas Tech. Texas had the tough loss to West Virginia, 2-point conversion at the end. Texas Tech couldn't stop Oklahoma to save their souls. I'll go with Texas. What the heck? We'll just keep staying there. Hook 'em horns. All right, you've got Bedlam.
I got Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, which I think is going to look very similar to the game you just talked about,
Bedlam.
Texas and Texas Tech. I mean, who knows? And Bedlam has a lot to do with who has the home field advantage, I think, especially this year. Oklahoma has a better team. The Cowboys would love to ruin their chances to get Oklahoma to the college football playoff. I think Oklahoma has a little too much. They'll win it.
And I got Clemson at BC. You know, game day is at BC. It's a wicked smart coach. I think what we got is Boston is on a roll. I still will not buy Clemson as the number 2 team in the country. I'm going with BC in the upset.
Is this the red bandana game?
No, that was Miami.
Okay, they've already Miami.
I'm telling you,
done that.
BC's got something going on right now, and I'm not going to be shocked if they win that game.
Wow.
It could be cold too.
Do you work for Georgia? Okay. Okay. Time now for the Aaron's keys to the game. At least I think they'll move up if Clemson loses. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. So, Todd, your keys.
Accuracy, throwing the ball. I mean, you've got to get the ball to your receivers in a good spot so they can get good plays, first downs, move the ball. Accuracy, throwing the football.
All right. 2-score game. Can either team make it a 2-score game? If Wisconsin does, plays perfectly into their style. If Penn State does, it then makes Wisconsin get uncomfortable.
I think first down, same as last week. If Wisconsin's getting 4 yards a clip on first down, it's going to be a long day for Penn State.
See, he thinks Georgia's moving up. He's got Clemson gone. But he keeps BC in it, by the way.
That's right.
He does. All right, hey, by the way, Happy Valley Cruise. We talked to Sue Paterno earlier. Don't forget it benefits Special Olympics Pennsylvania. Call 800-242-8076. Go to www.happyvalleycruise.com. For Todd, Jay, I'm Steve. Thanks for joining us on Blue White Tailgate.